to know what words come to mind when you think of the novel War and Peace. Go ahead, shout them out.
Long.
Long, yes. Long is usually it, right? What you don't think is fun. I went to a play recently, Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. This play is based on a short portion of War and Peace. And had I known that going in, I would have expected something completely different than what I experienced. This play was fun. It was the most fun I've had out and about in a very long time. And it's because it did three things very well. The first thing it did well is it engaged with the audience from the moment you entered this space. It also acknowledged the elephant in the room. Russian novels can be really difficult to follow, a little tedious. And it didn't take itself too seriously, which is something you would assume maybe a play written off of a chunk of War and Peace might do. Let's talk about the space first. I saw this at the Ashby Stage, which is a rather intimate theater. However, it's my understanding that when this production was in its Broadway stint, which was short-lived, that it had a similar setup on a grander scale, where the audience is seated not only around the stage, but actually on the stage. We are assumed to be at the Russian opera, where there are boxes and people get to really take part in the action. The actors surround us, not only using the stage that is tremendously close to us, but they also use the space between seats around the audience. And you really feel a part of the show. When they cheers, you're cheersing too. It's a good time. They also had the cast walking around before the show offering us pierogies, which I thought was really fun. You're immediately invested. Next, they addressed the elephant in the room, which if you've read a complicated Russian novel, the names can be one of the hardest pieces of a Russian novel. When I read Anna Karenina, I reached the entire end of the book before I realized that there's Levin and there's Dmitry Levin, and they are two different people. I thought they were one person. I went, damn it, I have to read this whole thing over again. So they addressed the elephant in the room by telling us in the first song that it's a complicated Russian novel. It's got 9 names. This is a list of the characters in War and Peace. It's overwhelming. Granted, we weren't dealing with all of these characters in this snippet of the play, but they consolidated it down in the first song. They let you know exactly what you needed to know. They went round robin with it, where they introduced the main character, Natasha, where Natasha tells you that she's young and that she loves Andre with all her heart, which the chorus echoes, and then they remind you that Andre isn't here. They continue to her friend Sonia, and Sonia tells you that she is good, and she's Natasha's closest friend and cousin. The chorus echoes it, and they tell us that Sonia is good, Natasha is young, and Andre isn't here. By the end, you have heard what everyone is and does in this play. You have a sense of who they are, and you feel like you really know them on a really basic, ridiculous level. You know that Anatole's hot, Helena's a slut, Mary is plain. It's fun. You have a sense of who everyone is, and they get to kind of skip a lot of character development because they've told you what's important. You can kind of jump right in. I think they did a wonderful job with this. Lastly, they don't take themselves very seriously. You could assume that in this play, which is largely about an engaged woman who gets seduced by this sleazy officer and convinced to run away with him, that it would be full of drama, and it is, but it's also funny. They talk about when they're writing their letters to their loved ones and she's getting wooed from afar, how in 19th century Russia, they write letters because putting down on paper what's happening in their mind makes them feel better. And as these letters are getting passed around, madness ensues. They bring out humor in serious situations where Natasha goes to meet her betrothed's family who won't accept her, and she's assured that once they meet her in person, I know they'll like me. Everyone has always liked me. And moments later, we get, and from the first glance, I do not like Natasha from her sister-in-law. There are these little soliloquies that happen throughout the show that make you feel like you are an intimate part of each character's psyche. You know what they are thinking as they are acting, and it's quite fun. And then when Anatole, the hot one, enters, you get this line, and it's said in all seriousness. He moved with a swagger which would have been ridiculous had he not been so good looking. How can you not enjoy that? That's just fun. Beyond all of this, you get taken to the club, you get taken to the Russian opera, there is dancing, there is a wonderful mix of music that changes from Russian folk to electronic in an instant. And it was just a great time. So War and Peace, but make it fun. I would encourage you all to see this, but it is sadly sold out for the duration of the show. So don't bother looking for tickets, it's booked. If it does come around again, I highly encourage you to see it. Thank you.